Perfect. Okay, so I see some people are slowly starting to come in. We know this is the lunch hour. So we are just going to get started. Just so you know, this is going to be a recorded session for anyone who is just joining now. So you can always return to visit this later, or of course, share it with any of your friends or loved ones. But just to get started, hi everyone, I'm Charlene, and I don't know where Naomi is on your screen, but she's waving. That is Naomi. We are both the founders of Zurich. We are a community of mental and physical health businesses that are located in Zurich. We're really trying to connect with the community of Zurich to make sure that everyone has the resources and help that they need. And of course, so that no one is alone in their journey to being the healthiest version of themselves. Today is day 3 of our Lunch and Learn sessions for European Mental Health Week. The theme of European Mental Health Week this year is mentally healthy communities. So of course, we feel very honored to be one of those communities in multiple capacities, and we're very happy to have you here. I don't want to waste any more time talking, so I'm going to pass it on to our guest speaker today, who is a leadership and holistic coach with a focus on mental health in businesses. So Heidi, please take the floor, and we're excited for your session.
Thank you. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's great that you're here, and those who are those who are off camera, I suppose you're listening but eating, and that's fine. We all want to have a healthy break. I hope you eat something healthy. Feel free to share what you eat with me if you want to. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. I hope you can see it. Good. And so this session is about de-stress your life, how to move from overwhelm and crazy busy to calm and collected. And we talk about mindset, how we can use it as our friend rather than our enemy. And I'll share with you simple and practical tips that you can then implement right away. And we'll have, of course, a bit of a Q&A at the end. Who am I? Why do I talk to you about this topic? So like many of you probably, I have quite an international background. I lived and worked in several different countries across Europe and have enjoyed that busy life where so much is happening culturally, work-wise, etc. a lot. I'm originally in now at home. I work with a range of different corporate clients. I regularly engage with the media as well. My career has been with international organizations, big American companies, and also Swiss pharma company. So I somehow know a little bit about stress, experienced it right away. Why? So I've worked as a spokesperson, press relations person. I was writing speeches for executives, engaging and helping companies and their employees to move through transformations. So quite big changes, organizational changes, cultural changes, etc. So always working closely with the HR team. But it's been a job where there was a lot of emotion involved most of the time and a lot of busyness. So I remember it was a Friday, 5 p.m. and I felt, okay, that was a crazy week. I've survived just right here. And then I got a call that one of the factories had a fire, and it was like very clear to me, okay, that is now crisis comms and issue management at its best, at a time when I least had any battery left, to any energy left to fight this comms battle as well, or the comms idea around how to deal with such a situation. And really that job taught me to always have spare battery, spare energy in a way. And over 10 years, I was very closely looking into how can I have enough energy and enough mental, physical, spiritual stamina and energy to really be in such a high-powered position. Sometimes it felt like this, and I suppose all of you might know that, where you feel, where do I start? There is a chaos. which is the person that I speak to first, what is the item, the task that I have to handle or prioritize right now. And being part of the chaos didn't make it easier. And it always felt like there is just not enough hours in the day. Whatever I do and however I start, I'll never manage to sort out this mess. And then maybe that's a self-reflection moment for you now, to really ask yourself from a scale from 1 to 10, how much stress do I feel right now? Right now, meaning today, like this day, this Wednesday, do I feel like I'm on a 10 out of 10, with 10 being the craziest ever? I suppose not, because otherwise maybe you wouldn't be on this call. Or you feel I'm super relaxed and super chilled, and you are in the lower numbers, and that, but also would sometimes not be the case, that people then look and turn to that topic. So I suppose you're somewhere in between a 4 and an 8. But really being aware of what is my number. And that's a first tip now. So to have that regular check-in daily or twice a day, even to say, okay, if I would rank myself now, like I look at the battery of my phone and know roughly how well it is charged, in comparison to how much do I need to use it. I think that's 2 things that you have to keep in mind regularly, and really understand what is the stress level. And also the bigger question, the far bigger question, is what is my relationship to stress? So how do I feel about that topic? Because that's an interesting insight that I want to share with you right now. So I went to this incredible retreat place somewhere in the top, in the mountains in Austria, and really was driving there in such a rush, in such a busyness, where on the way there I remember 4 calls, and it was a long drive, and everything was really planned by the minute. And most of you, I guess, know a life where there is little to no room for maneuver, or where you are really scheduled in a very, very tight way. And I remember arriving there at the parking space, and it said that from here to get to that beautiful place, I have to walk half an hour. And I thought, that's impossible. I can't do that, because I've literally timed my arrival with the Navi in a way that it's exactly the time when it starts. And I realized how tight everything is in my life. And that was the first lesson. Of course, I arrived half an hour late, because that wasn't planned, or I hadn't really looked into that in such a detail that I would have known that in advance. But that was a big, big moment for me, how slowing down can really change and shift perspective. So if anyone wants to do, in my case, it was a 4-day silent retreat. It's such a healer. It's such a wonderful experience. What I've really learned there is, first of all, how busy our minds constantly are as a habit as well. And I think that's one big aha moment that I had, is yes, there are things to do, and there will always be things to do, but really understanding that you have a choice. So in the way you engage your thoughts, in the way you take things serious or not, in the way you prioritize, ultimately there is a moment of decision making that you have. And sometimes if we're not used to working with that, it feels very tiny and very small, and something like we actually don't think we really have that influence in our lives. But we do, because in those 4 days, a lot of things have changed. And I remember half a year later, the effects of that retreat were still felt in the way that I walked into meetings, in the way that I was setting up meetings, in the way that I was driving from A to B and not scheduling too many things into my diary. And really seeing that busyness as a addiction to some extent as well, to understand how much of all the things that I put into my life are actually things that I need, that I want, that are good for me, or how much of that is just something that I do because I don't think about it, because it doesn't really mean anything, but I think I have to. And getting that distinction is key. So what do I do now? Another insight that I gained from there was that I wanted to follow my calling, which I already had as a teenager, and that is helping people to move from good to great, to be in an even stronger position to help themselves to achieve their dreams. And I do that with personal coaching online. And I write, I speak, I have a podcast, etc. So I have a book. And so that somehow sense of what is it that I actually want to do with my precious lifetime is a question that I think all of you might have asked themselves at a particular time in their lives, or will ask themselves. So the insight, the main insight that I want to get across today with you is that the key is the success criteria, the idea to success is to manage your energy, not your time. Doesn't mean that you ignore any time management tips or tricks. And of course, from a certain, at a certain level, you have handled that skill, I would think. But it's far more the art to be mindful about your own energy and your personal energy. And that's really something that I would like you to take away with from today, that how am I feeling today? And by energy, I don't only mean by how much can I take, how further can I push myself. I really mean also that kind of how much joy do I still experience, or am I actually able to experience? Because we all know from burnout and studies and all the insights that we have, that at a certain level you act on autopilot, and there is not much lightness anymore in your day. There is not much emotion anymore, because we turn numb, we become quite anxious, nervous, etc. And all those emotions are a sign that it's not, that you're not in flow. So that's why manage your energy is quite critical. And as a holistic health coach, I always look at all three dimensions. So the body, mind, and spirit. And every problem or issue that I deal with and that my coachees come to me, we look at it from those three angles. And in the same way as we do that with nutrition, we can also do it with stress and the habit of stress. So body, for example, of course, nutrition determines lots of how much energy you actually have and how able you are to handle and deal with stress. I have this fantastic book, which is called The De-Stress Diet, the revolutionary lifestyle plan for a calmer, slimmer you. That has really changed a lot in my life. So I can only highly recommend that, by Charlotte Watts and Anna Maggie. And the key here is, and like it is with everything around lifestyle, is to establish healthy eating patterns that really support you. So before we go into mind and spirit, I always say the foundation, the physical foundation, is critical. So if you are on a sugar rush and high and caffeine roller coaster, of course your emotions are going crazy as well. And of course, your ability to handle stress, or your ability to be resilient when things happen, is much lower. And really understanding that nutrition is a core foundation for also your emotional management of emotions and your thoughts, etc. So that's the first dimension, the body dimension. And whatever you're eating now, from the people that I can't see, I hope you enjoy it, but also make sure that your meals are not only an afterthought in terms of what can I have now because I'm hungry, but meal planning, organizing yourself, and making sure that your kitchen is your pharmacy, ideally, is key. So whatever you put into yourself has an impact on how you think, how you feel, etc. Moving on to mind. So the mind and the mindset. And that's a little bit what I alluded to before in terms of that stress can become an addiction in a way, because of course we live in a society that values performance, that admires if we push ourselves further into new areas, if we sleep less, the work hard, play hard, and the one who sleeps less and spends more time at the office is somehow the more committed employee. As a mindset, or as a, let's say, something, I think it's shifting and changing, but we all play a part in that. So 10 years ago, that was definitely the mantra, work, 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 and that is something to be applauded by. And today, I think there is more awareness that the well-being at work is crucial, especially when we talk about long-term success. I think anyone can push themselves for a couple of months to extremes and make long night shifts, etc. But the question is really, how do you want to succeed in the long run? And really understanding or asking yourself, and that's also a call for self-reflection, how much of the stress is something that I actually want and need? And of course, that's a moment to be honest to yourself, because on the one hand, we've learned that it's a badge of honor. You are more important than others. When you're busier than others, you are more needed by others. When you say yes to all sorts of meetings that might not be super critical for you, but you attend. So really questioning yourself and your relationship to stress and busyness. Is that something that I really need? What is the value that I get out of that? Because that's a core philosophy of my coaching as well, is that everything you do for a reason. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. And even if that reason isn't rationally, or isn't something that makes sense to you in an obvious way when you think about it rationally, there is something subconsciously, perhaps, that you get the pleasure out of that you get a reward, that you get some sort of a confirmation of one of your self-beliefs. Otherwise, we simply wouldn't do it. And being honest with yourself and asking yourself, what is my mind actually thinking about the way I live? Is it really just painful, or how much pleasure do I get out of this stressful life? And then number 3, spirit. That's very closely connected to purpose. Do I do what I love to do? Do I do what I'm best at? Do I contribute at work in a way that it also suits my talents and that I can really be a substantial contribution here? And I remember I've had one situation at work where it was a crazy work schedule. No question about that. And I said to a dear friend of mine, and she's a coach, and I said, I have so much work and I don't know what to do anymore. And but I think I'm managing well with all the craziness, but I'm still so exhausted and tired, and I just don't want to do it anymore. And then she said, it's the exhaustion doesn't only come from the emails that you get or the meetings that you have to attend. She said, in my case, at least, she felt the exhaustion comes from that you are engaging in work that is no longer the work that you're meant to be doing. And that at a soul level, there is a clear sign and exhaustion that I'm just going in the wrong direction of my life. And that this being tired and being not really motivated stems from that area as well. And it was quite an aha moment, and I will, I think, always remember it, because I was sitting in the car and driving and thinking, what's the next road or the next crossroad in my life that I have to take to change things? And of course, it's a big question. who am I? Where do I want to go? But those questions need to be answered regularly in order to be on top of your game in a way that your energy is high, that your vitality can flourish, that you have a soulful experience of life as well. Let me go into far more nitty-gritty detail. So those 3 areas are the top levels at which I look at this phenomena of stress. And I do have a Manage Your Stress freebie guide, which you can download if you want to. And this is a sneak preview, or that's like just 3 pages from that guide. Again, body, mind, spirit, but what can you do right away? Quick reliefs. So those are things that I've developed and used myself over the years. And there are quick relief remedies, but also things that you can do in the long run. And in my guidebook, in the workbook, there are quite a lot of self-reflection questions as well, and things that you can really work through with yourself. So the taking the break, I think that's such a simple thing, but how many of you really do take a break regularly? So simple things. A meeting ends a little bit earlier. What's the next thing you do? You probably look into your inbox, and you don't use that 5-minute, 3-minute extra to just look outside your window and just calm down a little bit. And it's that thing from, if I look at the phone first thing in the morning and then somehow mentally only switch off late at night, it's just one big thing that has an incredible strain on your brain as well. And if you do that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, there are definitely some downsides to that. The grounding, so undervalued in a way, getting outdoors, seeing nature, being in nature, and it doesn't have to be a long walk every day. So those of you who might have dogs know how much pleasure they get from walking out in nature. But even if that's just taking a tram stop or getting off the tram stop earlier and then walking along the lake for a little bit, those things are really incredibly important. And what does it take? Because that sounds so simple, but it takes that giving yourself permission to design your day, to really say, I am the master of my time. I'm the master of what I do with the little pockets of time that I have. And how do I enjoy that in the best possible way? And it can feel like a revolutionary act for some of us to simply do things slightly differently and have that few moments a day with doing nothing or allowing your brain to take a break. And I've once also attended a 3-month course on neuroscience for coaches, and they clearly said that the creativity that you get from maybe the 5-minute break and the way that you switch your focus away from the daily tasks to something else can have an immense effect, firstly from a health point of view on your brain, but also when it comes to creativity and ideas that you might get that otherwise are just not visible for you. Meditation, I'm a big fan of meditation. 5 minutes every morning makes a huge difference, ideally 12. So the study shows that when you meditate for 12 minutes, it's far more effective. Breath work is a big buzzword these days, and those of you who haven't used it or haven't attended breathwork sessions, please do so. I can only warmly recommend them. A very simple thing for the office is the box breathing. So you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold and then repeat again. And movement, of course, is super important as well. The mind, whenever I've had too much stress in my work life, I was always focusing on, okay, what specifically stresses me out? And I think the worst kind of stress is that we just don't know anymore what it is, that we feel we are in a cloud of craziness, and getting it down on paper and say, those are the 5 things that really drive me crazy right now, is super important. To get specific, understand why that is, also find a new way of thinking about it, reframe it, create an affirmation around it, let it go, things that you can't control, and also make a plan. So sounds simple, but we often run away for days, for weeks with a clouded mind, thinking, oh my God, it's all too much. But the question is, what really is too much, and why, and what can you do to change it? And if you do that on a daily basis, things are so much easier, and they don't pile up over the years, over the days, over the month. And the spirit element, of course, that's a big thing. And I have a purpose coaching and clarity coaching for people as well, where we dive into that. What are your values? What is really important to you? Self-acceptance is a big thing. And really understanding, how can I trust things to be guiding me in the right direction? And it's a separate conversation to have had, but I always want to mention it because it's not the nutrition alone, it's not the mindset alone. There is always that additional element as well that we can take into consideration. So the Workaholic's Guide to Managing Stress is about a 20-page document, and 3 pages you've just seen, and there are wonderful self-reflection exercises in there. So if you want to download that, please go to heidihauer.com/newsletter, sign up, and then you get the copy. And on my podcast, I'm interviewing women who have followed their dreams and who have had the courage to really do things slightly differently and to step outside their comfort zone. And that is often also the result of looking into, how can I have a more fulfilling life without so much stress. And then I'm on social media as well, so very happy to connect with you there. If you have any questions, we have 2 more minutes. Put them into the chat or just ask me right away. Very happy to. Okay, Martin is listening and eating. Very good. Any questions? I know that's a super fast thing, and you might think, okay, what's the new thing? The new thing really is, in my view, the manage your energy, not your time. So it's not about how to get even more productive, because I think all of you have probably mastered that quite well. And the second new insight that follows that, manage your energy, not your time, is that you are allowed to give yourself a break. And that doesn't mean to be a long retreat or to be something that's super expensive. It's often the little things that make the difference. And that needs practice. You repeat that, you do that the next day, maybe twice, 5 minutes, and really getting back into the driver's seat of your life and saying, I can make the decision for myself. And yes, people will always ask you to do things, and that's part of nature. And it's probably after the day you die, the to-do list will not be finished either. So really understanding that this is an ebb and flow of tasks, and it's not about being the one who has finished everything first. Thank you, Naomi.
Maybe I can just say
Yes,
that for me, listening to what you were saying, like it brings back to always the same thing about like being in the driver's seat, like you said, and like taking the actions and owning the actions, and how difficult that actually is always. So it's the little things, and also the challenge of actually doing it for yourself. And then the other thing that I like from what you said is the kitchen is my pharmacy. That's kind of putting it even stronger, the thing of awareness of what you eat, what it influences. But I really like that the kitchen is your pharmacy. It's a really cool way of saying it. It makes it even stronger. So thanks for that.
Yeah, because many of you might be working from home, and the less temptations you have lying around, and the better. And I've had health issues, and I really had to look that everything that comes from the door into my kitchen is something that supports me, and I've continued to go grocery shopping in that way. So and the treats and the special things are then something that I have out in the restaurants, but at home I love it good and healthy and clean and supportive.
This was amazing. Really, thank you. It was a really nice break in the middle of the day. It was a great topic, really good points, as you mentioned, those things, and even just hearing it in a different way, right? Just like you said, the kitchen, no, I just lost my train of thought. But it's my pharmacy, you know, and it is true. And I think that that's a really powerful statement. And we really are grateful for having you here today, Heidi, also. And thank you for making yourself available outside of this session. For everyone who joined, thank you for being here. We really hope you took something valuable from this session. And of course, we are also available, as well as Heidi, if there's any questions that pop up, or if anyone has any comments or anything they would like to be part of. We still have 2 more sessions this week, so please reach out to us if you have any questions. We hope to see you there. And thank you again, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day.